internet. In the 1930s, people were very lucky to have local input, and it was usually from a one-room schoolhouse. Now children are being bombarded from all kinds of multimedia inputs, and I'm telling you, most 12-year-olds I know, which is about how long the internet's really been functional out there, are far better with computers and high-tech and games and iPods and programming and understanding a high-tech world, balancing in it, than I was when I was 12. And I try to keep up, but heck, my kids beat my butt at Xbox. I mean, they just clean my clock. It's not hand-eye coordination, it's hand-thumb coordination. So
yeah, I do that. I hand things to my nephews and my nieces, and I said, "Hey, can you
figure this
program
out
this for me? Or can you?" I can't keep up with it myself.
But anyway, my point was that this evolution that you were talking about is normally a generational thing. We don't see it till we see grandkids or great-grandkids. But the evolution you're talking about is intra-generational. People are changing on the fly right now, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. What I'm seeing right now is that it's just this huge influx of energy is pushing everything up to the surface. And, you know, they used to call it the apocalypse, which really means the great uncovering, where everything is uncovered. And we're definitely in it. It doesn't so much mean all this total death and destruction. It just means the great uncovering. And, you know, we are just seeing everything being uncovered. And there's just no real line anymore. I mean, there are some, I would say, sheeple out there that are still towing the line, you know, and believe everything they hear on the media. But I would say, you know, the vast majority of the people are just saying, you know, wait a second, you know, we're done with this program. We're done with the wars. We're done with the lying. We're done with the banksters. We're done with all of this nonsense. You know, why don't you guys go out and produce something? You know, they're tired of being enslaved through dependency, and they know there's more to this earth than and you know, to life than that's available to them through the mainstream.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the banksters. You know, I just heard the most incredible a report that the banks had been recently bailed out with billions of dollars of taxpayer money. And one of the first banks to actually give back the money, that is to say, pay back the money, was Bank of America. Now, this is one of the banks that tried, as soon as they were given the bailout money, to give huge bonuses to their executives and salespeople and brokers. I mean, $50 million bonuses on up. And the government said, hey, you can't do that. I mean, you're taking taxpayers' money. You can't just write big fat checks to yourselves. After all, you didn't do such a good job. You drove your companies into bankruptcy. So the companies now, the banks, are giving the money, paying the money back to the government so that they can turn around and write those big fat bonus checks now and drive the banks right back into bankruptcy and ask for the bailout again.
Of course. Yeah, that's the way they operate.
Holy,
you know,
it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, you know, their whole function is they lust for power and wealth at any expense. They don't see themselves as part of the whole. They see themselves as separate. And you know, they're running on fear of lack and quite a few other programs that and this false sense of separation. So, you know, we really can't expect anything else from them. And it's time to quit enabling them and supporting this nonsense. You know, it's time to just say, okay, look, you blew it. Accept the consequences. Let's bring somebody in that is a little more forthright and has a level of integrity and have a good vacation or whatever.
Well, I understand fear of lack. I mean, I know people that make, you know, $100 a week. They have a fear of lack. But a $50 million annual bonus to overcome your fear of lack?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
You can only eat so many steak dinners, and then you got to get a rib spreader. I mean, come on. You got to.
No, that's pure greed there. That's just undeniable, pure greed. I mean, there's nothing. I don't know why people equate self-worth with these little green pieces of paper. You know, it makes no sense to me at all, but I can see how we've totally given our power away to these little green pieces of paper because they are the accepted, you know, exchange of today's society. But we really need to step back and go, well, wait a second, what are the consequences of this? What am I buying into? What am I supporting? And just really reevaluate what's going on there.
You sort of helped me clear something right there. Starting up an electric car company is not the easiest thing in the world. It's not as though they say no. It's just they never say yes. It just takes you a long, long time to get through things. So it's all money going out and no money coming in. And it gets pretty skinny from time to time, but you got to stay focused on what's really important. And I got to admit, James, the last 60 days I've been pretty focused on the little green pieces of paper. So I ask your forgiveness and the forgiveness of the listeners, and we'll start concentrating on the end game instead of the little pieces of paper, and the universe will funnel in what needs to come in. So now I see the energy that man has been operating under for, I'm going to say, the last 20 years. It's really been right in your face, whether it's war, whether it's graft, whether it's industrial espionage. Now it seems that any new automobile innovation, whether it's electric cars or fuel-saving technologies or charge-as-you-drive technologies, they can't come forward because now those technologies are not competing with the car companies. They're competing with the federal government. Mm-hmm. So the federal government's not going to provide funds to compete with its own companies, and it's so obvious, it's so blatant, it's ridiculous, it's right in your face. That kind of energy that forbids the earth from getting the healing technologies that she needs, the things that clean up the air and the water and stop burning the planet as a way of pushing our automobiles around, aren't getting onto the market. They're not getting in the hands of the consumer. So the earth is going to have a conscious allergic reaction to those who insist on dwelling in darkness and fear. Exactly. And those dark energies are not going to be supported with this new frequency, but they're going to be destructively interfered with. Now, as long as the human beings keep pouring energy into their fear and dark efforts, they'll survive. But there won't be any further help from the earth. And that means the help from the earth is going to go somewhere else. Where is it going to go, James?
Well, here's what I'm understanding right now. I know Dolores Cannon did a lot of regressions with people, and it matches up with the same information that we got back in mid-'70s or something. But I didn't fully understand it. But we seem to be going through this split, almost like an amoeba splits and creates two worlds, and they're two separate frequencies and parallel worlds, you might say. And the Hopi talk about this, and there's some carvings that talk about it, and I've heard several other nations talk about it in their prophecies. But there does seem to be an event coming up to where there is going to be a split in two parallel worlds, and one world will continue on its downward spiral where they're misusing technology and lust for money and power and wealth at any expense, and they're going to continue with the wars and the disease profiteers and all that nonsense. And that one takes this downward spiral and completely collapses. And then the other path is going to take the upward spiral. And they're more focused on love and joy and peace and bliss and living in harmony with each other and the planet. And, very service-oriented. And those are going to continue because that's where the earth is going. She's moving in her ascension process in that direction. And I think it's already happening because I'm seeing right now that, they say there are as many worlds as there are realities or people creating realities down here. And I just see that there are collective realities and collective consciousnesses that are choosing, to live in harmony with each other and the planet. And there's others that are choosing to continue with the competition and the war and the greed and the lust for power and wealth. Wow. And I'm just seeing the power and the energy here on the planet right now is no longer supporting that old program. And it's just going to be phasing out here. It's going to collapse and implode upon itself.
Well, one can only hope. I mean, that's going to be chaotic and cataclysmic, but there is some scientific support for this. Let me read this. Dr. Tom Krimigas of the Applied Physics Laboratory at Johns Hopkins University.